pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first, public input session. We have someone from the public for the first time in a long time, we'll just say. So we are very pleased you're here.
Well, I'm not sure about protocol and stuff like that.
Well, so you can, public input, you can, what's that?
Have them come up so that.
Yeah, come on up. Do you want to, I assume you want to say something, or you're just here to hang out and
No, I
watch?
do want to say something.
Yeah, come on up, come on
I'm
up.
Tim.
I'm Brian.
Oh,
I'm
you're
the,
Brian.
I'm the board president. Tim is at a meeting. He should be here shortly.
Okay.
But come on up. We've been a long. Actually, I don't even know what the protocol is. It's been so long since we've had someone from the.
Are these on? By the way?
I don't know. I assume the mics are on.
Yes. Green thing.
Should
So-
you introduce himself?
Thank you.
Yeah, please introduce yourself and whatever you want to.
My name is Bill Toppin, and I live over by Stuyvesant Plaza. And today I received this sales pitch, I'll call it, prepared by with taxpayer money. And this is the first time I heard about this project. And I'm not like out of the mainstream of everything. I tend to hear things, and I do remember back in 2012, I believe, the library tried to upgrade the facilities, and that was defeated. And it seems almost like you guys have repeated the same thing where people haven't heard about this. It's a May vote, and I just find that that this is stacked against people that might have a contrary opinion to whether this should happen or not. In addition, I'm confused on this whole thing because you say you're crowded, and it seems like you're including a lot more things, a lot more programs and things. So it sounds like you're making more room. As a voter, as a taxpayer, I've seen libraries. I went to this little library in Bethlehem. It was a house at the time. And we just went there, got books and studied, and that's it. I'd like to see the library go back to that instead of being this place where you're renting out rooms and stuff like to people.
But we don't rent. Anyone can reserve a room. It's totally free of charge. That's something we strongly encourage.
Maybe you should.
But you pay taxes. Why would you wanna pay on top?
We're not
So,
allowed.
well,
We
yeah.
can't charge.
All right. So yeah, but that's something we feel very strongly about. Is we want people to use the rooms that we have.
Well,
And-
sure. Well, maybe get rid of the rooms instead of charging us $8 million for facilities. I've come here. I've lived in the area for about 15 years, and I've seen a lot of changes here. There wasn't computers and all that. It was maybe 15 years ago, but it just seems to me that you guys are doing more and want to do more. And if people need rooms, they could go somewhere else and find rooms to either rent or to borrow or whatever. I'm looking at this where there's students in the hallway. There are people in the hallway and students all over the place. And I just question how often that happens and why the students aren't like in a school instead of.
I believe it's on Saturday mornings.
Three Little Birds is on Friday mornings.
Okay.
What's that?
The large program with children is on Friday morning.
Okay. But, maybe we don't need those large programs in the library. I'm here way after the fact. The vote's going to be Monday or Tuesday. And I don't know, you look at it and like I'm crazy or something.
No, not at all like you're crazy, but I've only been a member of the Board of Trustees for a year. I was not involved 7 years ago. A lot of the people here weren't. And 7 years ago, I voted against the proposal myself, because at that time it was much more extravagant than what's being proposed now, and a lot of things I felt were unnecessary. And I agree with you that 7 years ago, there was no publicity about it and no information about it. But for the last year and a half, 2 years, even before I became a board member, the library has been providing information, has been holding meetings, has been holding surveys, has publicized it through the newspapers, through the Altamont Enterprise, through the Times Union, on the sign out there. Can I finish? The information has been out there, and there are very few people in the town of Guilderland who are unaware of this proposal and of the informational meetings that Tim Wiles, the library director, has held constantly for the last year and a half, for the last month and a half, 2 months. It's been every couple of days that there's been meetings here and information about that. So, I mean, that's one part of your
Well, I'm just saying that
position.
I didn't hear anything. And the only notice that there's a vote on Tuesday, May 21st, is on your board here. Okay? There's nothing going along Western Avenue telling people to vote. I don't think you want anybody to vote. I really don't.
There are signs all
Where?
across Western Avenue for the school board election, and this is all part of.
Coincides.
Do you live in McCownville?
What?
You said you live down in Stuyvesant?
Yeah, McCownville.
Well, tonight, our director is down with the McCownville group of neighborhood
Association.
giving a presentation on this.
Using taxpayer money to promote a vote.
Well, you're complaining about not being informed, and then he's going down there to try to inform people, and you're complaining that he's using taxpayer money for that.
How's he using taxpayer money?
I'm
Well, he
saying,
has time, right?
I'm saying taxpayer money, board members that don't get paid may do that, but I don't see how we spend taxpayer money to promote something so we can spend more money.
But you want information, but you don't want anyone. That's what I guess I don't understand. So you could certainly argue against having meeting rooms. I think we're going to philosophically oppose. That's fine. That's totally fine. I don't think there's nothing I can say to change that. But to Barry's point, we try very, very hard to try to get the word out. I mean, we would knock on every door if we had the time to. But if you're not home, then you're going to complain that we're not knocking on your door.
Well, I understand it's a situation
Yeah.
with the May 21st voting. I mean, most people forget about it. I mean, how many people vote on May 21st? How many will vote? And how many can vote?
We provide the information. We can't force people
Yeah.
to vote one way or another.
We just want people to know about the project that was proposed, and from being a part of this board, the public input opportunities for this project have been laborious, and it has gone kind of above and beyond what I think happened in 2012 in terms of the architect several times coming and discussing the project. There was interviews with staff, interviews with patrons, several opportunities and exercises for them to input. And so when you see the information that's out there about the project, which is in your mailer, that mailer does not tell you which way to vote. It just says this is what you're voting on. And that is what staff and patrons, people who use the library and are here, that's what they want their library to be. And that's what we've tried to respond to in a way that was both responsive to the community needs and wants based on those exercises, as well as something that was, we said, what do you want? And I said, all right, how can we make this possible? And you mentioned go someplace else for meeting rooms. Is there any other place in Guilderland where there are free meeting rooms available for these types of programs to be provided to Community
why
members?
I don't know why they have to be free. Why does the ukulele people not have to pay for their room? Everybody pays.
It's right, but it's because it's a public meeting room. Those are all public meetings. You're welcome to join if you want to. We'd
Wow.
love for you to come to the library more and join
Actually,
programs.
I wouldn't mind playing ukulele. I got one at home.
You know, so
all right, maybe we got a new guy,
right. So
one way or another.
I mean, and if you're in a position to be able to pay for a meeting room to have your meeting, that's fantastic. But not everyone in this community is, and like we want this to be an inclusive community. Libraries are for everyone, whether you can afford to pay for that or not.
Well, if you want to be inclusive, then we should. People should be notified of both. I mean, there should be signs down Western Avenue. There aren't.
Who's gonna pay for those signs, sir?
What?
Who's gonna pay for those signs?
Maybe the town. I don't care.
That's the
Well, how
taxpayers.
much
We
good-
can't
how
do
much
that.
good
It's not to use
There
taxpayer
are a couple
funding
of
to.
signs. There's a sign at the corner of Carmen Road and Western Avenue that says vote May
Yeah,
21st.
Get the 400 vote, I guess, but you know.
And there are some down, in other areas too that say vote May 21st.
Well, you know, I don't mean to say that you did a bad job or anything like that. I'm just saying that when it comes to me in this mailer, you failed. Because I didn't hear about this. This has been a year and a half in the running with the architect. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm a little bit frustrated because we had over 2,500 people that submitted answers to surveys. We had at least 5 or 6 focus groups where we had senior citizens come in, we had teens come in, we had, I'm trying to think some of the other groups.
Realtors.
A group of realtors came in, parents that came in, people with young kids or homeschoolers. These were all individual groups, open to anybody who wanted to come. This architect went over backwards in surveying, the public. And we posted on Facebook, we posted on, these meetings are all televised. We did everything we could to reach every single citizen that is in this town to the best of our ability. And
do
this
so
was-
without using the taxpayer dollars.
Right, and this was at least a 2-year process where as many people as we could corral gave us input.
Okay.
And, I'm saddened that you didn't hear about it, but it boggles my mind that you didn't have access to either the computer or to the Times Union. You said obviously Altamont is down the other end of town, so you didn't have that, but huge articles in the Times Union that describe the project and Along Life's Way.
Okay.
And
Then I'm wrong with that. but-
Spotlight.
the Spotlight, which is a free publication in the Capital District, it was in there. And the plans.
Our town?
Our town, it was in the Our Town. I mean, we did everything we could to make every citizen, know about the project and have a part in it if they wanted to.
I've talked to 5 residents since this happened. All 5 didn't know that. Different families, different. And this.
I will say it's a problem
I
we've
believe it,
always
but-
had. How do you? And I'm guessing if I had to, this should not be shocking, but you probably don't come to the library. Like, how do you talk? How do you inform people who don't come to the library about stuff we're doing? And it's a problem. So I've probably been on the board just about the longest. Is a problem we've had forever. If you have any suggestions on how to change that, please let us know,
Yes.
because we want you to know. If you disagree with us on the meeting rooms, I can understand that, but I don't want you to be saying you didn't hear from us, because that's something we do take seriously.
Well, I didn't hear from him.
So
So, me personally.
How can we reach you? Like, what are you doing what can we do to get a hold of you?
What do you access
Well,
that we missed?
Maybe this mailer should have gone out 6 months ago. I'm not guaranteed that, it's not guaranteed that I would have read it. I might have confused it with an advertisement or something like that.
We didn't know
I
we were
just-
doing it 6 months ago.
Yeah, we were still finalizing everything, trying to get, as much of
Cost
the
reduced as
cost
we could.
reduced as we could up until the very last minute, and that was part of it, was the fundraising committee and the foundation trying to get this stuff together. And really, like Ryan said, how do we reach people that don't use the library for this sort of thing? Because those are the people that we do want most informed about the project.
Yeah.
But what media do you use that we missed?
I don't know. I use the internet basically. That's about it.
Do
Radio.
you get our newsletter?
To get the Our Town
I
in the
don't-
mail?
I don't get any of that stuff. I don't buy newspapers anymore. I get all
Yeah.
my news online.
You must be Bill.
Ah, you look familiar too, Tim.
Hey, how are you? Nice to meet
The,
you. I thought maybe there'd been big
If you would
changes.
do us,
I'm
if you
taking over.
Yeah, Bill made a parliamentary maneuver and I'm out.
if you do us a favor, give us your email so that we get you on at least a library mailing list, so that as programs come up and things like that, the programs that this group of librarians and Tim have put together over the last few years are phenomenal.
We have a
The
newsletter.
the people who are
Oh, you
coming,
got it?
Yeah.
who are coming to
All
these
sorts of programs in there.
absolutely love them. These are our fellow residents, our fellow citizens. And as I said, for the senior citizens, you know, we have so much to offer. For young people, so much to offer. And they're very, very appreciative. And we're hoping that that will spill over to a positive vote.
Yeah.
But really, we would very much like to have you at least on our mailing list so that this doesn't happen again. You know, for future budgets, for future votes, because then for sure, you would at least
Well,
get the information.
I got this in the mail this morning, and I said to myself, well, poor Tim had to answer a million questions, and he was very kind, I have to say.
Well, thank you.
But, you know, I just decided that I was gonna come here and voice my opinion.
That's
Very glad you did. You're really the first person who's come from the public in a while, and it's not through a lack of trying. It's really, we're glad you're here. We're glad to hear from you because you're right. There is a segment of the population that we do not hear from, and we just do not know how to reach, short of showing up at your door and not. Tim would do it too. Like Tim is the hardest working guy
I
here.
had a little more
Like,
time.
yeah.
You can
Yeah.
even come to the library to read the newspapers that you don't buy.
Right.
Use his
To
name.
borrow,
Thank you.
So really,
you know,
would you
books.
give us your email and sign
Sure, I'll
up for
send
the
it,
newsletter?
I'll send it to Tim.
And the five
Tim has it.
people?
I have it.
Oh, the five people that you know,
Yeah.
if they're willing to sign up so they'll get our newsletters.
Okay.
And doesn't cost them a penny, but they will be informed. And every year, the budget is in the newsletter, you know, why the line items are there and, you know, what they stand for. And that way, if we can reach out to the population even more, we're more than willing to do it. So, thank you.
It just, I think a lot of people that I knew didn't know about this,
Yeah.
and then they're not gonna want to go to vote one way or the other, at least the school board. I don't even understand why, you know, I was talking to Tim, why these votes are taken in May. I know, he told me it's the law or whatever.
It's a state law,
But
right?
it doesn't make any sense. You know, I've been in
Are you
civil servant.
civically active in McCownville at all?
Not recently, but I will be, I
There's
think.
a
I'm starting to-
McCownville improvement
Right.
zone.
That's where I
They
came
know
from just
all
now.
about
The
it.
McCownville meeting.
Don Reeve and Martha Haraus, and
Yeah.
all those people are, you
They were
have
both
to date
there.
on these.
You know, and certainly if you're on Facebook, follow the library. You know, it's
I don't follow.
You don't do that, okay.
Okay.
but
This will have your email
Yeah.
address.
I've
We'll
got it.
send you the bulletin, and this won't happen in the
I
future because you'll be
apologize
up
for
to
taking
date.
too much time.
No, this
we're
is
glad.
what it's
This
here
is good.
for.
We really are very pleased you're here. Like
like
we're not
Brian
saying.
said, how do we reach this
We
segment of
want
the
you to come in
population?
here more often.
Please, anytime, come on in.
Take advantage.
I better see you here with your ukulele now.
No, do you like music? Because the musical programs that they have here, they're free, they're phenomenal.
Do you have guitar?
They're
We have all
They have a
kinds
guitar
of-
quartet on Sunday,
Sunday.
at 2 o'clock, Finger
Yeah.
Lakes Guitar Quartet.
Right.
And right now, the ukulele club is meeting.
I saw that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So again,
Alright.
thank you for
One other
coming.
thing, you mentioned you don't understand why the vote is in May, and that Tim said that it was state law, but you don't understand. The vote, a lot of people always say, why doesn't the school vote, the library vote happen the same time as the general elections in November?
It's
It
okay.
cannot be done because the boundaries are totally different. okay? And you may be in McCownville District, and maybe you voted the McCownville Fire Department or the McCownville Methodist Church for your voting because that's your political district. But for the school district and the library, which is under the school district, the boundaries are different, and people might vote, instead of voting at Guilderland Elementary, they may vote at
Westmere.
even in Voorheesville or something like that. So it just, you know, that's why, but it's the whole state. That is the state law, is that school budget votes and libraries that fall under the school districts, the vote is in May.
That makes some sense.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
Thank
really
you.
appreciate.
I just sent an email to Luann, who handles our mailing list, and she will get you on it. Do you prefer, we can put you on the print mailing list or the email mailing list?
Says he likes the email.
Okay.
Emails.
Okay, good. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'll be-
Thanks for coming, we do appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Somebody's vibration?
The other thing I'm doing, just real quick, is texting Lou Warner out in Cherry Valley to let him know it's almost 76 degrees in this room. He should be able to use our new computer system to dial it down.
Wow, that's good. That was the first time I remember like a real public
Yeah, but
comment in
It's
a
not gonna
long
go down for
time.
Not the one I was hoping for, but there it
No,
is.
but it gave us
good
an
though, yeah.
opportunity
Right.
to explain why it was incorrect.
Yeah,
And all the efforts that we've made to address every citizen in this town.
You know,
Well, that's okay, but still,
yeah.
and now he'll be
Yeah,
on
that's
the
the one
mailing
thing is
list.
sometimes you can turn a no vote into a don't vote, which is better than,
Right.
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
a no vote,
Right,
you know,
right.
so.
Yeah. Well, well, let's hope we did some kind
He
of
doesn't know what, the school board election is happening either.
And
Maybe he'll just
that
call
was,
to say screw it.
that was somewhat evident from his email, but I thought, well, that's not my job. I'm just gonna work on mine. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so,
Okay.
Some other Wiles problem.
Let's yeah. All right, let's get the treasurer's reports. Okay, I can get an in and out.
Well, I can tell you that that was probably wholly my fault, because I stopped and bought frozen food before I came here. So you can all blame me for how long that took, because that's how karma works.
Your ice cream's melted.
What have you done
Yeah,
wrong?
my ice cream.
What have you done wrong for bad karma?
No, it's just, you know,
Oh.
it's just
What
a-
happens?
Irony, let's put the
Irony.
irony in
The
there.
opposite of wrinkly.
Sure. I go with Steve. So treasurer's report for the 10 months ended April. We're in the 11th month, but we're not done with it yet. Nothing too crazy, it's kind of the same stuff we talked about last month. The overages are mainly driven by things that we've already discussed, things like pension. Materials is coming basically back in line. Revenues are basically on where they were. We are continuing to do better than anticipated with both the book sales and with interest. Nothing was too crazy out of line in terms of expenses this month, as I said, other than things that we've already talked about in the past. And we are basically on path to stay, if not on budget, then close to budget, even considering the needs of making additional.
Utilities are pretty high.
Utilities are, well, so.
Is that not uncommon coming out of the winter?
Well, here's the thing with utilities. For the last
Pretty big variance.
4 years, maybe,
Yeah.
we've continually ratcheted utilities line down a bit. And I think we've gotten to a point where we've adjusted the utilities to where we're actually below what the utility, like, we kept being under every year on utilities
Yeah.
for actual. And I think we've actually adjusted them to where we swung back to budget.
All right. Well, that's a simple fix next year. What's this building equipment maintenance?
So that was, is that the contract for the heat pump on the, it's a heat pump? Cooling tower. Cooling
Oh,
tower. So
okay.
there's a cooling tower on the roof, and they failed to bill us for a contract, and instead of the 2 years that we actually should have gotten billed for, we got kind of retroactively billed for a year.
Oh,
They've
okay.
been doing.
We actually saved a year's
Yeah.
worth of expense.
By accidentally not paying
Yeah.
them for
Yeah.
2 years.
Well, they didn't bill us, so we
Well,
didn't pay
right,
them.
yeah.
But,
That's the way it works usually.
Yeah.
Perfect. Feel sufficiently informed.
I did go to a restaurant once, and I went with my girlfriend, and we ate their spaghetti special, and then, or actually, we didn't eat their spaghetti special, we were sitting there, and they brought a check after about 45 minutes, and I said, well, you probably ought to bring the meal too.
You
if you're
might,
gonna
you
bring
might
it.
want to feed us.
So,
I've never had that happen.
Yeah, that's
Oh, my
too.
God.
Was it actually your check?
it was our check. They just,
They just-
every spaghetti special on Wednesday night, and so they just sort of assumed we'd already eaten. And we were like, oh, no, we haven't actually.
What did your wife think of that?
This was my ex-girlfriend, yeah, this was before I knew my wife. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Questions or?
Anything else?
Looks good.
All right. Is there a motion?
Move.
Motion by Barbara, second by Barry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Is that for both of us?
This is for both. Oh, no, yeah, it was
Thank
check
Jenna, you
register.
collecting?
Motion for the check register.
I did.
All right,
Oh,
motion
you
for the check
did,
register.
okay.
Second.
Mary was second.
Oh,
Alright.
so it's for the
All those in
treasurer's report?
favor? The check register this time.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Hey, guys.
All right.
Good night, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Get that frozen food in the
I know.
freezer.
Okay. Let's do some committee reports. Finance? It's weird having you over there.
We did not meet.
Yeah, we can meet.
Finance, all right, good.
We're all
It's my favorite meetings.
You're done.
Personnel?
Okay, personnel. We're about to, first of all, we're about to start negotiations for units 1 and 2. We're meeting on June the 3rd at 5 p.m. And I don't know if any of the people on the personnel committee are interested in participating, you can. But but we're going to have a management team for this, a library team, and that team will include Chris Lanchanton and Tim and I and Margaret and Carol. And let's see, is there anybody else? Did I?
Margaret, Carol, myself, you,
Yeah.
and any committee members that want to join. And
Yeah,
Chris
and
Lynch.
Chris, okay, yeah. Okay, because the CSEA is also gonna have a team of people, and we're meeting, and they are going to be prepared to submit, demands at that meeting, so that we can accomplish something at that meeting to receive their
You
demands.
said it was 5 o'clock?
Not
on
just
June-
introduce ourselves.
5 o'clock on June 3rd?
Yes.
In this room.
If I'm still a board member, I will be.
And just a reminder, sorry, Herb, but just a reminder that the CSEA units 1 and 2 requested of the board that they negotiate together, and you approved that, so
Yeah,
that's
so
what's.
this is what we had wanted anyway. Because we don't, one thing we don't want is differences in the contracts that, that people can come in a year or 6 months, asking for a Me Too clause. So we want to make sure that everybody is being treated fairly and equally, in the units. We can't do, individual, it's not like management where we do individual contracts. This is a contract that they're going to be, more cookie cutter, cutter-like, and, if there are certain things that will be offered, certain things that will apply to everybody. Speaking of the management contracts, we did finish reviewing the contracts, and Barry was nice enough to proofread everything.
Thank you.
It was Barry who
Great job,
who
Barry.
found the little
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 discrepancies.
glitches that there were in these things, so we thank him for that, and they are ready, and Tim's, you said you were going to
I have
put
them.
one copy around.
Yeah, I have them, and if you guys would like to look at them, I can pass them around. They've,
Because they're just about the same as you read last time.
yeah. The discrepancies were, for example, contracts for a female employee that might have had the word her instead of, or excuse me, his instead of her, or a benefit that said in some of the contracts, all management staff have this benefit, and in other contracts it said all staff have this benefit. So standardizing that kind of thing, those are the two I remember off the
Yeah,
top
there
of
was
my head.
also, there was also the
hours.
jury duty.
Yep,
Management.
The wording for jury duty leave and approval was not actually correct
yeah.
in terms of
Mhm.
what the employee has to, who has to provide the employee with the
Receipt or
the
the
receipt
proof.
that they were at that they were actually at jury duty.
So we fixed, thanks to Barry, fixed a bunch of little things
And
like
thanks
that.
to Jenna for a fantastic job of typing it all.
Just gonna throw it out there next year, just gender neutral language for all the contracts.
All right.
Make our lives easier going
Beginning our
forward.
negotiations.
Yeah, we're not doing it this year because it's done now, but I think next year we should go that direction.
Yeah.
Then that won't be a problem going forward.
Do we want to? Can we approve these now, or do we want to wait till the end? I mean, we don't need to go into executive session for this.
No, because we're not saying anything that.
Correct.
And I trust Barry's, digging implicitly. So if he says they're good,
And
I'm sure
I'll
they're
tell you
good.
what, if there's a typo between Jenna and Barry, it will be found. So,
I gotta start having you guys proof my grad paper.
well, except you're done with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So- Or do you have to write a big thesis or
Yeah,
dissertation?
I'm in the process of doing that right now, so I
Okay.
might be hitting you guys up.
Surprised you're here.
Time since I did my dissertation.
So, all right. Well then,
I will make a motion to approve the MC contracts as presented.
I second.
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Adopted unanimously.
Okay, so now you can, go over the contracts with the individual and get them
You
signed.
need to sign.
Oh.
I make a motion that Brian sign everything he's supposed to sign before he leaves.
That's probably a good idea.
But yes, we'll go over them, and we will, as I understand it, we will, at the next opportunity, do a payroll that incorporates the amounts retrospective to January 1 for the affected employees.
Yep.
So, January 1 of 2019. So,
Okay.
And then there will be extra checks for the period.
I think it's into the same check, isn't it?
No,
No, it's an
separate
extra check?
check.
Okay.
Because if it were in the same check, there'd be a lot more taxes taken.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you.
All right. Are you?
That's,
Set.
the personnel, yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Policy. Did they meet?
They did not, but I can give a quick update. We failed one night to get a quorum, I believe. And the only other thing I can think of that's on the horizon is that we might want to recommend that the policy committee, either the remainder of this year or next year, begin reviewing the bylaws. It's been a long time since the bylaws have been checked to see if they reflect the way our board actually conducts business. And so then, if that's the case, some revisions to either the bylaws or the ways we conduct business might be necessary. So, is that correct, Barry, that we wanted to kind of suggest that?
Yeah.
So-
I think that's a good suggestion, and I have a feeling I know who the next. Very excited.
Why is he looking at you, Chris?
Yeah. All right. UHLS.
UHLS, we had a meeting this month of the Upper Hudson Library, and we chose the winners of the programs and the trustee of the year and volunteer of the year and the big award for someone who's done too much for libraries. And I'd like to introduce the Upper Hudson Trustee of the Year, Chris Aldridge.
I think you'll find, if I remember right, did I have you put the nomination letter into everybody's packet?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see why we thought you were.
And Tim wrote a
great.
masterful letter.
Yes.
You did.
Well, yeah. I think Tim gets a nice pat for his letter ready to go.
And I advocated for it
At the meeting.
And Herb,
thank you.
yeah, and his
Herb
application
gets a
skills.
round
Well
of
done.
applause.
Well done, Herb. Good team effort.
Okay, Jeremy Johansson will get the big award for the library advocate. The
Great.
year he was at head of NILA. And then the programs, there were an adult program and a youth program that will be awarded, and a volunteer of the year. They will be, they aren't from Guilderland, so.
We did, if I may jump in, Herb, we did nominate the Better Angels series of programs for our adult program of the year. And it received, as I understood it, serious consideration, but did not win. It's a really fantastic series of programs that librarian Amy McCarthy has been doing, trying to bridge the divide where self-identified red and blue people seem to be less able to talk to one another civilly these days than they maybe were at times in the past. And so we're doing workshops and so forth to try to teach people to respect their neighbor regardless of his or her point of view.
It was the services committee that chose that. Since I'm on the administrative committee, I didn't have any say about the programs, only about the individuals who were nominated.
Now, can that program, if it continues, can that get renominated again next year?
It can, and it just might, although as you guys were saying when I walked in with our patron here, Bill, there's so many great programs, you never know by this time next year what will be nominated.
I just know reading Maria's letter of nomination, it sounded like a great program.
It really is. She writes a good letter too. What won was a series of programs for adults with special needs. I forget what library it was, but that sounded worthy as well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure if all the winners were worthy. Not as worthy as Chris, but.
Well, he was the most worthy, that's why he got the award. So, yeah.
All right, great. Anything else?
Let's see. No, I think that's about it. That's the important stuff, and the dinner. The dinner coming up on June the 12th.
Yeah.
On June the 12th, and it's a very nice dinner, and you should be there to root on Chris, as he receives his award.
When do we have to let you know by, or?
May 24th?
Okay.
The dinner's free for trustees.
For trustees, yes.
And if your spouse comes, you just gotta kick in the other.
If you want to bring someone
Yeah.
else, it's $40.
And where is that?
This year, Latham, Holly, and
Information.
Barbara usually goes, and I think she's enjoyed it in the past.
I didn't bring the list. I already gave it to
What's the
her.
last name again?
Yeah, there's two of them.
So they're all set there.
Yeah, that's perfect. We're done.
Great. Fantastic. Okay, Rich Ellis, thank you. Foundation.
I can give the foundation unless you have something to
They
say.
didn't meet tonight, but
Yeah.
they met last month.
They did not meet tonight, although some of them are meeting now to work
Yeah.
on their social media strategy vis-a-vis, they have just restarted the Facebook page for the foundation and intend to use it over the next 3 or 4 days to rally support for the library renovation project. Interestingly, if you go and look at it, it is doing that, but you have to think about Facebook a little bit to see how it's doing it. So, for example, one of their postings has drawn 10 or 12 critical responses, and those people have tended to write responses. But there's 60 other likes on the post. Jake Lammy in particular seems to be doing good work at answering the objections that are being raised. So, for example, somebody said, well, the elderly are on a fixed income, so, you shouldn't ask them to pay for this. And the response was something like, yes, many of the elderly come to the library to save money on buying a computer or having an internet connection or taking out books and movies. And we even have members of the elderly population who come here all day so they can turn the thermostat down at home and not have to pay as much for heat. So these are all kind of roles of libraries that, that is not the primary role of a library, but that is the way that some people use it. So Jake's doing a good job at.
I'd like to make a comment on that. We can each
Okay.
go to those sites,
Mhm.
write our own little likes as to why we think you should vote yes, And they're not gonna know it's a trustee who's writing it, because most of them have no clue
Yeah,
who the
yeah,
trustees are.
exactly.
And,
They're-
I've been responding to them as well,
And also doing a good job.
yeah, so I think it's, don't put it all on Jake to do.
Yeah,
that's all I'm
exactly.
saying, yeah. And the more positives are on there, the less they'll see the negatives, so it'd be good just to go on and write some nice positive things in the comments.
And where is this?
It's on it's on Facebook, so you have to be.
It's called Gilderland Library
Gilderland
Foundation.
Foundation,
The
yeah.
foundation, they have
Yeah.
their own
They
separate.
have their
Yep.
website, and then they have articles posted in there, so you
Oh,
can
okay.
open the article and then comment.
Comment on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so the foundation.
Yeah.
I have one other comment under the foundation, which is, you guys may not like to hear, but I believe it is not working to the benefit of the library for the foundation and the library board to be meeting on the same night of the month. Luann and myself can't go to more than usually a half an hour of the foundation meeting. And I'll just say this nicely, but because they appear unlikely to change their meeting night, in July, I've made myself a note to ask you guys and whoever is new that's seated here whether we can change our meeting night, because if we don't work hand in hand with the foundation, we're not gonna get any fundraising done, and that group, which has 20 or 25 people on it, really has the potential to get energized and do a lot for this organization, but not if myself, Luann, and whoever is the liaison from the board to the foundation can't be there. So off the top of my head, what I was thinking today was I might suggest to you guys in July, third Wednesday of the month as opposed to third Thursday. Oh, Herb can't, okay. So just be thinking about nights you could do, Yeah, you have a Upper Hudson that night, don't you?
No,
Oh.
but I have a labor council.
Oh, okay.
President of the Troy Labor Council.
Okay.
I think we should do one of those Google surveys and see who can come what nights are
Wednesdays
good.
are just bad days.
Okay. We may have to have Friday night board meetings.
Probably like the fourth Thursday or something. We'll think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bless you.
You want us to go ahead and doodle? Well,
I
it
think-
doesn't make sense till we get a new board.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
talk
wait
to
for the
the
new
board.
board,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Is the foundation going to sponsor a gala this year?
They are, it's on September 28th, and this is a good example. They've known that date for 2 or 3 months, but you guys don't know it because there's not a lot of interface between the two groups because they're meeting at the same time, But it is September 28th, so mark your calendars.
What
And
time?
it's usually at 7 PM, I think, with cocktails at 6. It's at the Albany Country Club again.
Did you know about it, Brian?
I should say yes, because of course I listen to my wife, so yes, of course. Absolutely, I'm sure.
I'll put that in the minutes. Yes, Brian listens to
I
his wife
listen to my wife, so of course I do that.
on public record.
I make a motion that Brian listen to his wife.
I'll second that.
I oppose, no. Okay, foundation, so fundraising.
Really not much action,
No.
except that Mark Antonio and I met with representatives of the Rosenblum Group to explain our project to them and hear about their development project at the Great Oaks Office Complex, which really sounded good to me. And for a couple of reasons. They are looking to add a couple of buildings on land they already own and already have developed. And it's also very environmentally sound. So we're going to meet again after the referendum vote to explore some concepts of possibly putting a small self-service type branch into this residential building if it's approved, which would address, when I got hired here in 2014, I went to a McCownville Neighborhood Association meeting right away, and they wanted us to open a full-service branch in McCownville, and I came back and talked to you guys and, got the lay of the land and figured out that, they're 2.5 miles from the Pine Hills branch of the Albany Library and 3.5 miles from us where they meet. So it wouldn't make much sense to put a full-service branch, but in the last 5 years, there's all sorts of developments of book vending machines and other kinds of ways to have a library branch that is not staffed, where you could order things and pick them up, maybe have a little vending machine to choose some things at random, and then return things. So we're working on pricing something like that out to see if they're interested.
I like the idea and I fully support it, but I just wanted you to understand that Great Oaks is not in McCownville, it's in
Right.
Westmere.
Right, right. It is, and it would be, it may not meet those needs because it would require people to walk across the bridge, you know, and that's
I mean,
a
it's
bridge
very-
too far, perhaps.
Well, I mean, it's very close to McCownville, but
Mhm.
technically it is in Westmere, so if, you know,
But it's neat to have a company interested in the
Yeah.
concept, and it would be closer, unarguably closer, but not, as
Yeah.
you know, it's not in McCownville.
Yeah.
So-
Did you find it useful, the information that I forwarded to you from Congressman Tonko about available grants?
We, I do find that useful. We look at that, we're on those mailing lists too.
Oh, you are, okay.
And the gentleman, Bill, who was speaking to you earlier, one of his questions for me today is, why is this bond proposal all Guilderland tax money, Guilderland School District tax money? Why isn't it federal? And he said, well, it really isn't a federal program for building public libraries. It's really usually considered a state and even a local thing. But we glance at it and we look for something that we could, and you can keep them coming because it's a paradox, but you get so much email that sometimes you don't see it. So if you keep sending it along, we'll keep clicking on it.
Well,
So-
I'm happy to hear that you're on the list too.
Yeah, there we go. Yep, thank you.
Okay. So fundraising good. Building and grounds.
Really, not a whole lot more to say there.
Yeah.
I'm losing my voice. What I will say is just a quick story about the Guilderland Republican Committee. I went and spoke to the committee, and so of course I wanted to speak to the Guilderland Democratic Committee, and Herb and Jake Crawford, the chair, tried to find a time, but they didn't have a regularly scheduled meeting over the last month or so. So the other day, a week or so ago, Herb said, could you be here for about a 2-hour period so people can drop in and ask questions? And they asked for 5:30 to 6:45 this coming Monday. And I thought, sure, I can do that. But then I thought, miracle of miracles, there's nothing else on my schedule on Monday. So I'm just doing it from 10 a.m. to 6:45 p.m. on Monday. I'll be in the Norman Skill room from 10 to 6 and in this room from 6 to 6:45. And, you know, with some new letters to the editor and so forth, there may be some people who, in fact, our speaker here today, you know, he sent me an email and he was like, how come I don't know about this? And I very respectfully wrote back a list of about 12 ways that we've publicized this. And I said, I can't tell you why you don't know about it, but it's, you know, maybe you don't drive on Western Avenue that much. But anyway, I was nice and respectful about it. So we may get some people who are hearing about the renovation for the first time and want to come in and browbeat the director. And
Yeah.
that's my job.
It's tough when this guy
so-
comes in and he's, you know, preaching to all of us. So he really was kind of. It's gonna be different when you're sitting down and don't have
Yeah.
the same backup.
That's okay.
Be the hermit's maybe.
Yeah, you know, you put your head in the sand and you when you pick it up, you're surprised things are going on. So you know.
I like that. I
Exactly
gotta
what I was
remember that.
Anyway, so that's it on buildings and grounds. Oh, wait, a big thing about buildings and grounds that I was gonna put in my director's report, which is coming next anyway, but as of 4 p.m. today, we are done with the heat pumps project. And I did text Lou, he's trying to use the new system to reduce the temperature in here, and we'll see if it has gone down. I think it has, just, oh yes, it's gone down 1/10 of a degree. Not enough, but anyway, the project is done to the satisfaction of ME Engineering, which is the watchdog group that we hired, and they were tough. I would advocate hiring them again. I would also advocate if we ever needed it. In fact, we're under warranty for a lot of this stuff for about 3 years, so we will be working with Family Dan's, and we've enjoyed that working relationship, and that will continue if for no other reason that we're under warranty. So it took a little longer than we wanted it to, but it is done, and it's good to have something done. Also, now that it's done, we can go ahead and submit our paperwork to National Grid, and we expect to get, I believe, about $12,000 or $13,000 back from National Grid on that project. So we'll keep you posted on that process. Like anything else, it's a lot of paperwork. And since the election will soon be over, we'll be able to do that paperwork. So life is good. I can't think of anything else on buildings and grounds.
Good
Yes.
question. I got something, I don't know if it was from here or from the Upper Hudson, about a new non-smoking on property law that's taking effect soon.
Yep.
Is there anything that
We are already in compliance because we had chosen to be more than in compliance with the previous law. So our policy committee already prohibited vaping on our grounds, which is one of the recommendations
Okay.
of this new law, and our signage reflects that already. So
Great.
we're in good shape. So,
Fantastic, thank you.
to get back to you on another matter, Barry had noticed that the fire extinguisher in the Normanskill kitchen was expired, and so I went and talked to Lou Warner about it. It turns out that every fire extinguisher is punched the same way. Bear with me. Lou's theory is that they punched them wrong because they just inspected about 3 weeks ago. They punched them wrong last year when the company we pay to come in and replace them once a year perhaps punched them wrong, but they're due in about 2 weeks to come back. So we all wondered how the fire inspectors missed this, but Lou's theory was that when the fire inspectors come, they often have an idea that this is the thing we're going to check for this year a lot, which was carbon monoxide this year. So we're now in compliance with that. We have to wait 2 or 3 weeks if that's
Okay.
acceptable to get new fire extinguishers.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Just
Okay.
make sure, just have Lou, I assume he goes around with them, or?
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, when they put the new card on, the new extinguishers, just make sure it is
Sure they
the
do it
correct
right. Yeah.
one, because
Yep.
otherwise, you know, they're all expired.
It says they're 2 years old, but he did walk around with them 1 year ago
Yeah.
this time, and they either didn't punch them or they punched them in the wrong year, you know.
But that's what it shows, so.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of smoking, though, there is a new law before the county legislature to, you know, to outlaw the, candy flavored, vaping and everything. So that's, I haven't read the law, and I had somebody explain part of it the other day, but they want to stop that stuff from, from getting into the hands of children.
Good, they should.
I have a question related to the election, but it's trustees. Did Peter ever resign, or was he decided to?
He's just totally stopped communicating.
So,
When's the last time he was here though?
He was here for the last meeting.
yeah.
And he's
So
also,
he didn't resign, he's still
No.
going?
No.
No.
he has not resigned to my knowledge. He's also active on the Facebook page of the foundation. So,
I just wondered what,
Yeah.
because I see there's only 3 spots, I'm on the 4th. right?
yeah, and Chris knows that the lawyer for the school district noticed that Chris's resignation letter does not take effect until the 31st of this month, and said you don't have 4 openings, you have 3. And the word came to us about 3 or 4 business hours before the ballot was going to be printed. So Chris responded to the email and said, I can resign now if you'd like, but honestly, it just didn't make sense to make them change the ballot with just a few hours left. So,
And the general viewpoint is, we always usually try to appoint the highest vote getter to that spot, barring some kind of extenuating circumstance. But that should, will probably be the practice this time unless we discuss it and decide otherwise. But that's generally, my viewpoint is always the best practice, to just appoint the next highest vote getter to the year on expired term.
Right.
As long as it's a reasonable appointment.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as it's not some nut that got
Yeah,
up the
yeah,
ballot.
yeah,
The guy who was here.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Director's report.
okay, director's report. So I don't like to reread, but I do have a few things to highlight. One, and I do highlight this in the written report, but we thank Dan McNally and the whole police department. We did 2 days of active shooter training in April, one in April, one in May, and then a day of tourniquet training in May. That'll be on next month's report. I left my tourniquet in the car. I was going to show you guys how to put one on, but quite seriously, Dan is putting together kits for the library. If there is a mass shooting, getting the tourniquets onto the limbs saves lives. And there's a great article about it in the April 8th issue of the New Yorker, which incidentally, one of the reporters on it was Elizabeth Barber, who's the daughter of Peter and Kathy Barber. So anyway, I want to thank Ann Wemple-Person, a librarian on staff, for suggesting, first of all, reminding me that it was about time to do active shooter training again, and then suggesting the Stop the Bleed tourniquet training, which at that point I had not heard of. We are going to do more of it. We're working with the with the police department and with the chamber to do a civilian response to active shooter event in the Helderberg room. So this would be an informative seminar rather than our staff actually goes through an exercise where we pretend active shooting is going on and where guns are fired. We don't do that with the public, but we do show the police department shows them the video and teaches them how to survive. Speaking of Ann Wemple-Person, and by the way, with the tourniquet training, it was voluntary, but I'm very proud that 12 staff members chose to take that training. I have to say it was tough training. There was video in there of accidents happening and assaults happening, and it wasn't fun to watch. But we have 12 staff members who will be able to save lives if that happens here. The Drug Take Back Day on April 27th was again a great success. I can't quite remember, but I believe they took like 80 barrels of material out of here, which is just a crazy amount. Interesting note from Luann's report, we have 4,759 social media followers, mostly on Facebook. Of the Facebook fandom, 80% is female. So I don't want to draw any conclusions from that, but I think it's a marked number that is worth just putting in your head. Tax aid training has wrapped up yet again. We've got somewhere between 350 and 400 people who got their taxes done here. Thankfully, we did not lose our coordinator in the year when we were going into a referendum vote, because even though it's an AARP program, if we were unable, we had a possibility of losing our volunteer coordinator, and the people who would not have been able to get their taxes done, the distinction of the fact that it's an outside group that's using the room as opposed to the fact that it's helping at the library wouldn't have been made. I do have to say that the volunteer coordinator who's been doing it for 3 years is interested in stepping down, so we're going to publicize that with Luann. We have a year to try to find a new person, but we've been waiting till after the renovation because we have enough to do until the election. One thing that I noticed on the reports, I think it was Sean's report, is that there's been a huge increase from 300 something to 500 something views of the Gilderland History Collection on our website. So a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I demoed that for you, and you guys were very interested in it. One reason it was used so much in the month of April was that it was the featured collection for New York State Documentary Heritage Program, so that was nice. We are starting to loan out ukuleles, and we'll soon be starting to loan out telescopes, the 2 newest items in the Library of Things. The ukulele group is meeting now. There's about 20 ukulelists, if that's a word, in the Norman Skill Room. And the foundation bought the telescopes, and one reason that that we wanted telescopes and that they bought them is that the theme of the statewide summer reading program this year is space, basically. So having telescopes to check out is good. I mentioned heat pumps are done. The garden is open in the back for the year, and there are no bears yet. So I was going to mention Chris Aldrich and the Better Angels. We both did both of those. I also want to mention the Library Moonwalk program, which was a winter reading kind of logging kind of thing that was trying to get people to log their exercise as well as their reading. Headlined again, or can't think of the word, but run by Ann Wemple-Person for us. It was a program of the Upper Hudson Library System, the Southern Adirondack Library System, and the Mohawk Valley Library System together. And it was quite popular. It was mostly online, but for participating, we got a total of $721 in revenue, in addition to some hits on the website. And lastly, I had a crowd of about 40 tonight at the McCownville Neighborhood Association, or Improvement Association, and they were very respectful and had very good questions. And it was one of it might have been the only group I've spoken to in the last 2 months that gave me a round of applause at the end, so that was nice. So maybe that's a good sign. And that's what I've got for Director's Report, unless you have questions.
You're all done with the information sessions that you held here?
I am, except for the all-day one on Monday, the 20th.
Okay, I'd like to thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
I attended, Mike and I were at most of them.
Very good.
And your patience answering the same question 50 times.
It's kind of like a board meeting. No.
And, you know, and
Thank you.
without the Paul Mays too, the first couple of times, you know, you were so used to having him there that, but, you know, after the first couple, it was like I was glad he wasn't there because you did his portion much better than he did anyway.
Thank you.
But you did a great job, and again, your patience in answering some of the questions that I know I couldn't have had patience answering.
Thank you.
Again, thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. We've learned a lot about our community, and as Lisa Pitkin, one of the department heads, said, even if we lose the election, nothing is ever wasted, because by reaching out to all those groups, there's new relationships forming. And also with Luann being our new public information officer, she's a different person than our previous one, and so we are learning that the way to really connect to the community is to tell, like you guys were doing when I walked in, to tell the story of the library. Like it seems to me we just kind of were focused a lot on promoting events, and we need to promote events, but we also need to promote the concepts that make us bring you those events, and that's what we've been doing just kind of naturally. I think everyone on staff, I know everyone on staff is enjoying working with Luann, and you know, pretty soon she won't be new anymore, and pretty soon she won't have 2 jobs anymore. So, anyway, but thank you, and thanks to you and Mike for coming to so many, and we had other people. Noreen came to at least 2. There are others, and I'm sorry I can't remember. Barbara, thank you. Sorry, I can't remember. Chris came, yep. Everybody who came, but everybody has done something for us, and we appreciate that. So.
And while we're doling out thanks, I just want to extend our thanks to Marie and Ben,
Thank you.
to your family who have given you up so you could give your time for the library and the community.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I know that
It's great.
you've missed some baseball, but as we roll into the heart of the season, vote will be over. So
There you go.
we
Thank you.
expect that you'll be outside and cheering on Ben
Thank you.
as much as you can be.
And if the Cubs win the pennant, it will be justified.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Thank you. Yep. I appreciate that, Caitlin. So actually, Barbara, for Barbara's benefit, the last 2 months to me have been like all of Marie's job is 12 months a year. And I'm glad I don't have that job. But anyway, and Ben's the one who's really, you know, he's a trooper. We were at a banquet last night, all 3 of us, and I was just like, when is this thing going to get over? And the woman sitting next to me, she says, your son is so patient. Marie was getting an award. She said, your son is so patient, and he's so proud of your wife. You should really just watch your son. You should put down your phone. You know, you're right. Put down my phone and paid attention to my son. Lo and behold. So, sometimes you get a good seating assignment.
So I will make a motion to accept the directors and staff reports for April 2019.
Seconded by Barbara.
Okay, you win.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimous. Okay, we are moving. Any
Yeah.
new business?
Okay, just like-
All right, then any old business? All right, minutes from our last meeting. Do we have enough votes to approve this?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We do. Chris has to abstain, but other than that,
All right,
looks like we're okay.
so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to
Second by
approve the
Mike.
minutes of the regular business meeting from April 18th, 2019.
All right, seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mike.
Abstain.
Abstained. Adopted. Not unanimously. Okay, can I get a motion for executive session?
Motion by Barry, seconded by Herb. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in executive.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Carol, do you want these management contracts?
Are you good?
Now, since
Yeah.
they're coming to
Okay.
you or Margaret tomorrow anyway?
Okay.
So, they're signed by me and by Brian, so,
Yeah.
thank you.